In 1979, a woman named Jean Hilliard was driving to a friend's house in northern Minnesota when her car skidded off an icy road and became stuck in a ditch. She tried to walk to her friend's house but became disoriented and ended up wandering around in the freezing cold for several hours. Eventually, she collapsed and was found the next morning by a passing driver. When Jean was discovered, she was completely frozen solid. Her body temperature was so low that it couldn't even be measured with a thermometer. She was rushed to the hospital where doctors tried to revive her, but they were initially unsuccessful. Her pulse was barely detectable and her blood pressure was too low to register. Despite the odds, the doctors didn't give up on Jean. They warmed her body gradually with heating pads and warm blankets, and after several hours, she began to show signs of life. Her pulse became stronger, and her blood pressure slowly began to rise. After 49 days in the hospital, Jean made a full recovery, with no lasting damage or disabilities. Her incredible survival story made headlines around the world and inspired researchers to study the human body's response to extreme cold. There have been numerous studies conducted on the tolerance of the human body to low temperatures, particularly in the context of cold exposure and hypothermia. Here is a brief overview of some of the key findings. Cold acclimatization. It has been observed that individuals who are regularly exposed to cold temperatures, such as winter swimmers, tend to have a higher tolerance to cold than those who are not. This is thought to be due to adaptations in the body that occur in response to repeated cold exposure, such as increased blood flow to the skin and improved insulation provided by subcutaneous fat. Gender differences. Research has shown that women tend to have a lower tolerance to cold than men, with studies suggesting that this may be due to differences in body composition, hormonal influences, and thermoregulatory mechanisms. Age effects. Older adults may be more vulnerable to the effects of cold exposure due to decreased thermoregulatory function, reduced muscle mass, other age-related changes in the body. Infants and young children are also at increased risk of hypothermia due to their higher surface area to mass ratio. Hypothermia. Hypothermia occurs when the body's core temperature drops below a certain level, typically around 95 degrees Fahrenheit 35 degrees Celsius. The severity of hypothermia depends on the extent and duration of cold exposure, as well as individual factors such as age, body composition, and pre-existing medical conditions. Symptoms of hypothermia can range from mild shivering and numbness to severe confusion, loss of consciousness, and even death. Cold immersion. Studies have investigated the effects of cold immersion on the body, such as an ice bath or cold water swimming. These have shown that cold immersion can have various effects on the body, including changes in heart rate, blood pressure, and blood flow. However, the extent and nature of these effects depend on factors such as water temperature, duration of exposure, and individual characteristics. Overall, research on the tolerance of the human body to low temperatures suggests that individual factors such as age, gender, and cold acclimatization can play an important role in determining how well the body can withstand cold exposure. However, hypothermia can be a serious and potentially life-threatening condition, and caution should be taken when exposing oneself to cold temperatures for extended periods of time.